Thokozani family, Hotep Royals. Please tap the screen. Tap that screen if you can hear me. Please tap the screen if you can hear me. Yebo, thank you. I see you. Keep tapping the screen, guys. Let's get the number of likes up. Please share this live to as many people as you possibly can. If you can't share, you can literally just click on share, copy the link, and leave it at that. It helps to boost the video in the algorithm because it tells the algorithm that you've shared it, even though you haven't actually sent it to anyone. But this is very useful information. This is an exciting topic that we're having. We're going to have Mkhulu Nsingiza with us today, and we will be talking about Kemet University of Truth. I had asked people to ask any questions they had under a video that I made. It doesn't look like the video made it high up in the algorithm, so maybe many of you didn't see. But I will try to address things in the live that I think you guys would like to know about the university. Um, all exciting. I don't want to say more until Mkhulu comes. But on that note, I would like to say, please get yourself a copy of the African calendar, the Kemet African Royal Calendar. The calendar is available through a link in my bio. If you're on my page, you will see there where it says GEK Diaspora. If you click there, you will see where it says links. If you go under links, you will see where it says lulu.com. You will press that, it'll take you to the site where you can purchase yourself the African calendar. We've already spoken at great length about the African calendar, about why it is important to align ourselves with the way we measure time as African people. One of the things that has kept us enslaved and keeps us low vibrational is that we live our lives without intelligence, meaning that we are not aligned with the energies that are prevailing at any given time. And this calendar helps you with that alignment. For example, right now we're in the season of Heteru, as I've said, Umvundisigazi. The season of Heteru is literally that season where everything that you planted and was working on to launch in September is now being given the energy of growth. So you realize that if you're not aligned with the calendar, you'll be doing things at the wrong time, and therefore you're not supported by the prevailing energy of that season or that time. Also, this calendar, the way it's organized, also has these energies or principles or gods and goddesses, and every single one of us falls under one of these gods and goddesses based on when we were born. And so when you find out when you were born, you will also find out what season you were born in and what energy you embody. And then this gives you the characteristics of people who are born in a particular season and tells you what your characteristics are, what your strengths are, what your shadow self is, what it is you need to work on. It's such a useful tool for a lot of people who do not know what their purpose in life is, who are constantly asking, what am I here for? What is it am I supposed to be doing? This helps you figure that out very quickly, because when you understand the energy you embody, then you know what sort of things you should be going. So if you are Jehuti, Jehuti is the communicator. So if you're Jehuti, it makes sense that you are somebody, and you'll probably find naturally you like writing, or you like communicating or making peace between people. So what are what professions could you go into? You could become a journalist, you can become a teacher. So there are different ways in which to find what your purpose is, and this is the quickest way to it, especially most of us who are in adulthood and really have no clue why you're doing. You don't like your job because it's just a job. You don't feel like you're fulfilling any sort of grand mission in your job. It might be time for you to align and find out who you truly are and what your purpose is. What did you come in this incarnation to bring and contribute to the collective. Because all of us need to know our purpose so that we can plug into the collective and then move in such a way that we are contributing based on your purpose and your skills and your talents to the collective. That way, we get rid of competition, right? If you're moving and you're moving within your purpose and you're staying in your lane, you're not going to care what's happening with the person next to you, right? But if you don't, you're constantly looking around you to see who's doing better than me. Why are they doing better than? Well, they're doing better than you because they're moving in your purpose and you're not. When you're moving in your purpose, you start excelling because that is the thing you were born to do. So please go ahead, people in the diaspora, get yourself. This is such a useful tool. It is a practical guide. Season by season, it tells you what you ought to be doing. So Heteru's stone is turquoise. So at that time, if you want to connect with that energy and be in the same frequency of that energy, you will wear turquoise, right? Something turquoise, and I'm wearing sort of a plain white. But what I'm trying to say is, our spirituality is a lived experience. You have to live it. Spirituality is not just about reading about something and going, oh wow, that's amazing, and moving on. Spirituality is about small rituals and daily practice that feed your walk and that help you to stay aligned in your purpose. I hope that has made sense. So yeah, here it is. I've given the instructions. Go in my bio, click on GK Diaspora, right? First, you'll see my link, ganyezi.com. Click on that. You will see GK Diaspora. Click on it. Go under links. You will see lulu.com. Go ahead and grab yourself a copy. We also have the table calendar, which you'll find on there as well on GEK Diaspora. It's sort of just like this. And as you see, we're in the season of Heteru, which is the second season, and you can see it's in turquoise. So all the principles are laid out in their various colors. You can go ahead onto the GK Diaspora shop. You can pick what size you want. You can pick what color you want. You can pick whether you want it matte or glossy. That's up to you. But this is good because it assists you in just keeping, a day to day. We are decolonizing, guys. We are decolonizing. We are moving away from all these white systems that have kept us enslaved and that continue to keep us enslaved. There's no one coming to save us but ourselves. And some of us are just grateful that they are master teachers and they are people who are doing this work, and some who've come before us who really showed us the way out of this horrible matrix that we're in. Because literally that's what this does, is take you out of that matrix. And then of course Kemet University and the classes and learning about our history, really going deep into the knowledge that is condensed in here, is what will assist us to really exit and create a parallel system that has nothing to do with this toxic Western system under which we were never supposed to live in the first place. So on that note, I don't see Mkhulu yet. Mkhulu, when he comes on, hopefully he will request and then I will bring him on. Yeah. Otherwise, how's everybody doing? Let's just do a quick check-in with everyone. How is everyone doing? Yeah, we're going up. Let's see if we can get those likes to 10K, guys. Keep tapping. Invite a friend. I mean, many of you have heard me talk to Mkhulu. You've been on these conversations. Invite a couple of friends to come and join us. And you know, tell them to keep an open mind and come. They might learn something. So Thokozani, thank you for the gifts. I see those who are gifting us. Siyabonga Makwande. Togoza Ubuntu Roots Ninjani. Hi Silo, how are you? Please tell Dad to hurry up. Yeah. Official Venus, how are you, Lobugazi? Great that you are here. Thank you. Who else is here that I know? Some of these people I'm greeting are the GK family guys. So I'm greeting he heard Yeah, he must hear that. We are waiting. We are waiting. We are waiting. Let's see. Any other questions? Guys, don't go away. Mkhulu is coming on just now. Let's see. What else is there to tell you? I don't want to talk about the university much without Mkhulu because I want him to take us through a journey with this with the university. So um let's see. Thokozeni, Thokozeni. Oh, siyabonga, siyabonga, Gogo. Yes, yes, yes. You know how we do at home. We stay aligned, right? We stay aligned. It's a beautiful thing. Thokoza Mkhulu, I went on the link. It says page not found. Which page are you talking about, Shania? Thokozeni, yes, we've got this. Oh, we've been got this. And here we go. I think we have Mkhulu here. I'm sending him an invite. Invitation sent to Mkhulu. Um, there it is. Thokoza Mkhulu.
Thokoza Ndlovukazi.
Ninjani. Let's just see.
Thokoza
So,
Ndlovukazi.
Thokoza Mkhulu Ninjani.
Hello.
No, can you hear me?
Siyaphila njani Ndlovukazi?
Siyaphila, siyaphila.
Yes,
Guys,
yes, yes.
guys, please tap the screen
Can
if you
you
can hear
hear me?
Mkhulu. Yes, I hear you very
Can you
clearly.
hear me?
Yes, very well.
Okay.
Togoza. Guys,
Thokoza.
if you can hear Mkhulu, can you tap the screen, please, just to make sure? And let's keep tapping the screen. Let's get that number up to 10K. Togoza Mkhulu, thank you for joining us once again. It's always a pleasure to have you. Um,
Thokoza.
it's thank you for giving us your time. I know how extra busy you are, but it's just wonderful to have you on here. And I'm going to flip the camera so that you are the main. How do we do this again? No, that's not what is supposed to happen. Uh, expand. There we go. All right, Mkhulu. So, Mkhulu, how are you?
Thokoza Ndlovukazi.
It's good
Oh,
to
we
see you.
expanded.
Yeah, so now
Did you expand?
you are expanded, you are in full view, and I am
Okay.
minimized. So, Mkhulu, great event, another major cataclysmic event. You've just pulled a stunt on us. So we
And
thought we, so we thought that we were done when the calendar came out. It's revolutionary. We are super excited, and thank you so much. However, now we have Kemet University of Truth. And I know that for those who watch on YouTube, they've seen snippets, people have seen, registration is open and so on and so forth. But what I want to do for our audience and for people who will watch later on, because I will put this recording up on our other socials, is Mkhulu, I want you to take us through this journey of how did this even come about? Like, what is the history of the progression to Kemet University, Togoza?
Thokoza, Cash. Especially university. University, we knew that we had to teach. But now there was, this wish, of Ubabu Credo, our grandmaster, Ubabu Credo. I would normally see him lamenting the lack of support of his efforts to change the knowledge system, especially in terms of the continent. He lamented the fact that his grandchildren are being fed information or knowledge system that seem to be oppressive. Knowledge system that encourages people to be a neo-slaves, you know, not an education system that unlocks people's, potential. So, until the lack of support for his vision, as an elder of the nation, that didn't sit well with me as I'm working. But at the back of my mind, I have that thing, Guti, Ubaba, this is what was his vision, to set up an institution that is African-centered, using the knowledge system of the continent to then, build a future. So this was his wish. People can check some of his older, videos where he talks about this wish, that he wishes before he passes away, he could set up a university of truth.
Wow. Mkhulu, you seem to have frozen somewhat. I don't know what's going on. Guys, please tap the screen if you can hear me.
Necessary for us to start somewhere as an African nation. We can see that our governments are colonized. Our governments have got, no appetite for this African-centered, knowledge system. So this was the driving vision to say, okay, fine. Just like the calendar, there are so many things that our grandmaster, Babu Credo, Vusa Mazulu, Credo Mutwa, there are so many things that he wished he could do for us, but he couldn't because of time and lack of support from powers, that be. So we are on that road to actually try to fulfill some of the things that he wanted to do. And that is assisting us, Ndlovukazi, because we are living a parallel system. Started with the calendar, which gave us a foundation for what all the layers that have got to go on top of the calendar. So this is the second layer, from the calendar of the African, or the Kemet parallel system. This is a parallel system that we are living. It's no longer theory, Ndlovukazi. It's practical. We're living it. And there's so much appetite amongst Africans, especially the youth that are serious about a new Africa, because you cannot build a new Africa using the content of your colonizer. You need to go back, and find out what heritage was left for us to be completely independent, because we've got so much literature as African people. No continent compares to us. Some of it is written in stone for posterity. So that's the vision of guys to fulfill, to make sure that Ubabu Credo, Abo Mamwini, Abo Ndlovukazi Uzinzi, all of them, are at least hopeful that there are people who are making a difference. A difference doesn't mean that we should assimilate to this, oppressive system that is ruling us. We have to build a parallel system. Why? Because Our own governments, led by black people, are not interested in this content. So therefore, we are not going to wait for them. We are building that foundation. As to where this will take us, we don't know. But, the Spirit is guiding us for us to do it instead of, just talking all the time without, walking the talk.
How was Akesa? It's great that you bring this up because, when we talk about decolonization, I think there have been many attempts, if you like, at decolonization. And I think while the intention was great, the idea of decolonization is great. I think those who started decolonization movements didn't actually, they knew what needed to happen, but they didn't know how it was going to happen. So, for example, I remember the decolonization movement in South Africa in, I think, about 2000 and, between 2010, 2013, somewhere there, where the idea of decolonization was very important, but they didn't know what it was that needed to happen. And what decolonization really means is a radical shift. It's a radical turn away. It's a 360-degree turn away from everything that is colonial. And I think why you find a lot of people stuck there is because they didn't know where to turn. So if we reject this entire system, what are we going to replace it with? And I think this is where GK has come in so beautifully because it is the answer to the question even I had when I realized that this system was useless for Bagwantu. This system was actually toxic for us. But without knowing, okay, if not this, then what? So we are grateful that you are doing this work, hard as it is. We're really just thankful. And I just wanted to ask a question, Ketla, because there are a lot of people I know who have this question in their mind. They know that somehow you are linked to Bab Credo. But can you explain your relationship with Ubaba a little for us?
Oh, Babu Credo, Credo Mutu.
Yeah, Bo.
He's the person that ignited my fire, because that's all he needed to do. And fortunately, I was ready because I was looking for answers where I couldn't find answers anywhere until I took a serious look at his writings, his books, some of the articles he wrote, the things he was talking about. Then that stimulated something within, because for me, it didn't make sense as to how are we allowing our colonizers, to lead most of the processes, their education system. And what used to hurt me the most is witnessing that almost, most African people are departing from who they are. Why? Because Western culture pays the bill. So
Right.
therefore, you have to adopt this colonial culture for you to be able to survive. I didn't see any future there. Then, we went, with Indlovukazi uZinzi. She was there. We're together when we started, this journey. Besides, Ubabu Credo, we had started our own research in terms of what happened before colonizers came here. And Ubaba, was that pillar of strength. Why? Because he never compromised his position. No matter how much he was insulted by some of the people in politics, some of the people who are professors in these, white institutions, who are black, by the way. because of this thing that you cannot depart from a Western model. The minute you depart from the Western model, even your peers run away from you. Yeah. So that really worried me. For me to see, especially people that we respected, doctors and professors, I always wondered as to these educated African people, why is it difficult for them to then come up with solutions that are manufactured on the continent here? So that developed that interest in wanting to know more about our past. And Ubab Credo gave, he was the answer to all that. Because Ubab Credo didn't just possess superficial knowledge about the continent. He possessed, serious knowledge. That's why he was called Sanusi. Because he was entrusted with this African knowledge system. And besides, when we look at Ubab Credo, we discover that he went all over the continent to go and be initiated. So he possessed so much knowledge. That's why, today I hear people calling themselves Sanusi. Nobody can claim to be a Sanusi today because it takes years, dedication, and sacrifice. Because sometimes you're being initiated in a bush. The conditions, they are terrible. So he crafted all that content, and nobody should compete with that. Because nobody has ever demonstrated that they even come closer to Babu Credo. So that inspired me, especially his strength against everything that was opposing him. And some of his visions of the future made so many people uncomfortable. So made so many people, and because most of them came to pass, instead of African people understanding Uguti is just a messenger who is giving us a direction, and it's giving us that warning that if you don't do this, this is what will happen in the future. People, instead of embracing that advice, they just decided to be enemies and be mistreating him. I can't believe a person of that stature in Japan and China occupies a very high position, especially in the governance of the country. Because you need an elder like that to guide your whole government system. Because if your whole government system, it's a Western construct, you can never build an everlasting future for the continent of Africa. So Ubabu Credo possessed all that knowledge. Because when you know your past, how great your past is, nothing can bring you down. So Bob Credo, it's like I normally say that he assisted me because he never spoiled me. I would go to him, or we go there, Nature of Gas. He would show us the books that we're supposed to have. But he says, no, I'm not giving it to you. Go and look for your own. And the challenge is that most of this content, it's not easily available. Some of the books that he recommended, we had to wait, for say a couple of months before it landed on us. And some of them, were available. Like, the one that nearly killed me.
Tell your story, Mkhulu.
Hey, we were from Ubabu Credo, and end of Gazuzins. We're going to retrieve some of the footage of the recording, visual recording we did. Now it was in a beta format. So we wanted to make it digital. So we went to one of the studios there. Then, when I'm there, whilst they're doing all that, I'm busy phoning all over, the country, to try and get this book Ubaba recommended, The 12th Planet by
Zachariah Sitchin.
Zachariah Sitchin.
Yeah.
I find that there's no other place that have it. Only an exclusive book in Centurion. There, excitement says, no, let's leave everything we're doing. We have to rush for that copy before it is bought. On our way there, no, we met with an accident, Sarola. We rolled more than 5 times. Imoto nje yapoqoka, I just caved in. But fortunately, we're driving a very safe car. Nothing, happened to us. But the first and the strangest thing that happened, the first people who arrived on scene were people from intelligence. Already were suspicious. They wanted to take us to hospital. We said, no, we're
Now
not
they'll
going
finish
to.
us off. You're
No,
scared they
no,
were
no,
going
we're
to
not
finish
going
you
with
off.
you. We told them straight, we've already called our people, they are coming. And when our guys came to actually take us from there, I said, I'm not going to hospital. I need to go and get that book. Then I can go to hospital because I will heal much faster and better whilst reading that book. And that's exactly what happened. I entered exclusive. I couldn't walk properly. I was dragging my feet, into the shop, got the book. Then we told our guys, then I'm ready to go to the hospital. They took me to the hospital with that book. So for me, it was a mission accomplished. Nothing could have stopped me from, getting that book because it has to be a passion. You need to be passionate about this. Something should, be brewing within you. That a sense of wanting to know more. Whatever information you get, you say, no, man, it's not complete.
Yeah.
I know there is a third, a second, a fourth chapter of this.
Right.
So
Right.
Ubabu Credo was a good guide. I mean, I knew about Ivan van Sertima a long time ago. His books that were recommended by Ubabu Credo. So Ubabu Credo, everything I know, I was taught by him.
Wow.
Because I would go and read, come back and engage with him. What do they mean by this? And the book that I was nearly killed for, it talks about the Anunnaki.
Oh, was.
So I tackled that subject a long time ago. Before I was deep into Kemet, because Ubab Kelo said, get that book. And when I then researched Uru Zachariah Sitkin, I found Uguti there's a whole,
There's a whole set. I have the 12. It's 12.
that's it. There's
Yeah.
a whole set. I bought the whole set in
Yeah.
Lubgas.
Yeah.
That's when I then, studied about the Anunnaki. That gave me, so much information about the 12th planet that was discovered, but nobody talks about it in the media,
No, and
So,
actually, yeah, and actually now they are now there was a period which they said it doesn't exist, but now because it is here and it has been cited, it has been seen by some people, they are now saying yes, Nibiru does exist. And so it's always interesting how we have lived in a system that manipulates information to the extent that they have known and they know so many things, but they've kept them hidden from the general population, which is why I think we are in this age now of knowledge, of truth, of learning, and all these lies that they've told are actually now it's really come to the point now, Mkhulu, where even their own kind, meaning fellow white people, and no one they don't believe their own leaders anymore because they realize that we've been living in a totally controlled and manipulated system, and
that's
that
true.
most of what has happened in that system has not been for anyone's benefit or anyone's good except a select few. And it has been so anti-nature that for us as Bagwantu, that's why many of us just don't want anything to do with it anymore. But back to the issue of the university, Mkhulu. So,
Oh,
so,
sorry, before we go there,
ah,
you touched on, decolonization.
yeah,
Ndlovukazi, that is a very important, subject.
Togoza.
We need to decolonize. As an example, there are so many nations and countries that have been through what we've been through. And it was important for them to address that issue,
Yeah,
so that as a Palestinian, I'm just making that as an example. As a Palestinian, I need to know myself everything about being a Palestinian, right?
right.
So, as a leader, it is my responsibility for me to go and research and bring factual knowledge about who we are as a foundation. You will never, a lot of people have this perception that everything is global and whatever, especially when it comes to the continent. They are feeding us the idea that we need to instill in ourselves this global, perception and worldview. Everybody go to that global stage with their own identity. You
Togoza,
don't go there, with a hybrid identity.
Togoza,
Once you do that, you will never be respected in the whole world. Why?
Togoza.
Because you are ignorant of yourself. A lot of people can pick up with, oh, this one. He comes here, dress exactly like us. Huh? Already, you are then demonstrating that how far colonization has captured you. So that's why I love Nigerians. You go to the global stage with your own identity.
Togoza.
Even when they were launching this Africa Union mess, it's only Nigeria and maybe Ghana, or I can count. There are about 5 people in terms of their regalia
Togoza.
represented the continent. Most of them, including our president here, Thabo Mbeki, they were all in suits and ties whilst launching an African thing. So what lessons are you giving to the young ones?
Togoza.
I need to be aspire to be like an English gentleman for me to survive in this world. So this is the unfortunate thing about African leadership. Firstly, they are ignorant and have no interest in going back where they're supposed to be. Why? Because it demands a a total destruction.
Yeah.
You know, like what our ancestors say, you must destroy for you to be able to build.
That's
You
it.
can't build on the foundation of your colonizer because you will always be a colonized nation.
That's it.
Hey, that's it in Ndlovukazi. So all African governments, they have that responsibility of, coming up with decolonization programs that will then assist their people, for that self-knowledge. I mustn't feel inferior in front of a white person. Why?
Yeah.
I won't feel inferior. Why? Because I'm ignorant of myself. If
Oh,
I knew that, this white person is there because I am and have been, without me, they wouldn't be here.
oh,
So if you are armed with such a content, you will always walk tall. Nothing will bring you down, which is why we are fighting for this decolonization program. But after seeing that our leaders are not going to do it, so that is why even the university in Ndlovukazi, we've launched it. It's an online university, but it deserves, to be physical. But that won't happen now because of the colonized, leaders that are still leading us. We're hoping that the spirit will support us so that we are able to set up our own schools and our own universities with this content, that we have.
oh. No,
Thokoza.
Ketla, I think, also just, yes, it would be great to have a physical university. And I think that is in the future. But I think even now, what is so beautiful about the way the university is set up is it's immediately international because it's online.
That's true.
So, do you see? So
That's
it's
true.
almost like
That's true.
Spirit is fast tracking this whole
That's true.
decolonization so that Africans in
That's
the
true.
diaspora are able to register and to learn as well. So in a way, I always say what always looks like a bad situation, a spirit has a way, the divine has a way of twisting it and
That's,
actually turning it into a huge advantage
no,
because
sure.
it's yes. So imagine if now there was a Kemet University of Truth, brick and mortar on the continent in South Africa. Even surrounding African countries couldn't really access it unless they had the resources, right? But because it's online, like anyone who's anywhere on this planet can access this content, can come in and can learn and start their own personal decolonization program. Because really, that's what the university and the education does is that it helps you literally, it almost like it purges you of this Western
That's true.
nonsense we've been fed. We are
That's true.
gaba, we are palaza. It
No,
makes you
that's true.
vomit this toxin out and it comes in and replaces it. And what I just want to speak a little bit about my experience with the content, so that people understand what is so different from this African philosophy versus this Western philosophy. The difference is huge from my experience, Keisha. And the difference has been the spiritual aspect, which is
Yes.
that when you are engaging with this content, it is not just an intellectual
That's true.
exercise, but
That's
you
true.
actually start to feel something happening within you.
That's
And
true.
in reflecting on it, what I've come to realize is we have what we call the epigenetics and DNA memory, that genetic memory. Everything that has ever been is encoded within our DNA. And when you engage with this content, you start to feel a certain way because the resonance is so deep within you, and you start to feel this DNA sparking. Like, wait, it's not just that it sounds right, but it
That's true.
feels right.
It
It
feels right.
feels right. And so
That's true.
say our memory is not here. Our
Yeah.
memory is in our cells, in the DNA. And so it's an ancestral memory as well, because we have the DNA of our ancestors. There's something magical that happens when you engage with this content. And I know for a fact that the first group that we have can attest to this too. I've been present when a couple of our students have said, "Yo, like this is really deep. I'm having a moment over here,"
That's
and
true.
that for me has been absolutely beautiful to listen to and to observe that transformational spark happen, and knowing that, okay, this person, they're on their way, to vomiting out this poison, because that's what we need to do, is we need to vomit the
That's true.
poison that we've been fed, so that we can replace it with what is authentic and what is in essence really all about nature and ourselves. Thokoza Mkhulu.
Thokoza Ndlovukazi injalo, because it stimulates that genetic memory. All this we all know. It's just that we've forgotten. That's why we feel so much joy when that light bulb, lights up,
Yeah,
because of something you are hearing, something you are engaging with. So it gives us so much, satisfaction, guys. That's why we're saying that this content, it's not supposed to imprison people.
yeah.
This content is supposed to liberate you,
Thokoza.
so that you become the best of you. Huh?
Thokoza. Thokoza.
You are able to concentrate on your strengths.
Yeah,
Huh? Because it teaches you, because that's why Okokopetu, our ancestors, right at the top of these knowledge centers, it was written, know thyself,
Thokoza.
because it's all about that. How what does history say as to how was I created? Huh? And what processes were involved? Because when we are presenting the African creation story in its purest form, it invokes something within you.
Thokoza.
Because the first spark of Ta, as an example, is still alive within us, all of us. So you feel it inside, and this is something that I normally say, that this content, you have to feel it. When you hear it, whether through your mental blockage system, you're trying to block it, but your soul, your spirit agrees and
Thokoza.
says, yes, it's true, then it's up to you. What do you do? So it is us, it truly invokes that idea that we are not this physical, matter. We are spirit, and
Thokoza.
we are connected to that source even today. We are
Thokoza.
connected to the waters of abyss, the primeval waters, waters of noon. We are forever connected there.
Thokoza.
So therefore, it has to invoke, something within you. And this is, it empowers. It empowers, because, Ndlovukazi, when you are now understanding is science, according to what your ancestors, left for you, it makes you so proud, because our life, it is science. Our culture, it's science.
Yeah.
So all this was, hidden. Why? Because why black people are not supposed to ignite their fire within. That fire must forever be suppressed, so that you remain in servitude. So
Thokoza.
this content, this type of information releases you from that position of servitude. So you realize how powerful you are based on the knowledge that you are learning, from your ancestors. And then when you discover that we haven't even touched, the surface in terms of the knowledge, system, the way it's so vast, guys, but it's a process. We have to start somewhere. The Kemet University of Truth, we give praise to Babu Credo because he's the one who inspired this. So what's happening in the university? It's like we're putting all the bricks, brick by brick by brick by brick, so that you understand, the importance of decolonization. And because this then gives you the tool for you to be able now scientifically decolonize. Because once you understand ancient science of your ancestors, the things that they did during what is called the golden era, oh man, it changes your perception immediately. I know there's this thing they call, what do they call it, guys? When you are faced with the facts, but you
cognitive
not
dissonance.
That's it. Cognitive dissonance. That's the thing when guys that is killing our people. They hear the truth, but they don't want to engage it. Why? Because where they are, it's too comfortable for them to dislodge themselves, where they have to start afresh. There's nothing for you to continue be in employment. But as I always say in our lectures, please prepare to move away from there. You need to know yourself now. AI is here. Besides, anything, AI is here to remove your comfort. All the packages that you have, it might not be there tomorrow. So engage with the content, and it will assist yourself to find your creativity. And once you found that, stick to that. Build whilst you are still getting the package, so that you are preparing an exit, strategy.
Somebody says something very important, and I really, I want to answer it because he says, Mkhulu, Uti, I suspect the Kabbalah is derived from Kemetic spirituality taken over there and repackaged. Yes, absolutely. That is truth. And that's what hurts so much, is that unless we take back and we embrace what is our own, there are the people who see value. In fact, like Mkhulu always says, Western philosophy is nothing but plagiarized African philosophy. They saw the value in what our ancestors left, chose to shut us out of it and put us in a state of arrested development, took this stuff, plagiarized it, bastardized it, and turned us into slaves using it. Do you see how painful that is? That is why the decolonization means getting away from that stuff. It's toxic to us because it was created against us. It was created to keep us in perpetual slavery and enslavement to them. So that's why Mkhulu says, get prepared to get out of employment, because that is nothing but slavery. You are working for someone else who is benefiting off of your energy, your human resources, your intellectual property, your creativity. You're feeding a system that is created to keep you suppressed and enslaved, instead of getting out of that and allowing your creativity, your talents, and what is actually your purpose in this incarnation to flourish.
Look, there's no other philosophy but African philosophy.
Thokoza, injalo.
Yeah, because We occupied the whole world. We were there first. We started, philosophy all over the world, meaning that even the Hindus, even the Chinese, all of them were then, reading African philosophy, and then they took it
Yeah.
because of whatever, advantages that they thought they would have. And they presented it as the originators of the continent. The first people in China, in Japan, Australia, all over the world were African people. So we are the people who gave philosophy to the world. So not only that Jewish, text, the Hindu text, the Chinese text, all of them, they took what, as an example, the book of coming forth.
Yeah.
They took that, from Africans who went and established there. Then they formed even the Indian, what is it called?
The Baha'i.
Yeah, something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, that their spiritual text.
Mm-hmm.
It's taken from the African text, because the first Indians were black,
Yeah.
the first Chinese were black, the first Japanese were black.
Yeah.
So let us own up and take, control of our philosophy, because it is the foundational philosophy, of the world. It doesn't matter how they tweak it, but the African, identity, you still find it.
Togos.
Chogos.
So, people, as I'm reading comments, somebody was also asking about, why can't this content be taught to our children in schools? And my brief answer to that is it's going to take us to do that, right? When you say, why can't it be taught in schools, who are you expecting is going to take such dangerous knowledge and start teaching our children in schools? As it is over here in the US, there is a move now to abolish the history of slavery and the civil rights movement. So it's going to take us ourselves as a community to amass our resources wherever we are in the world and build a parallel system where
That's
we are
it.
now teaching our children ourselves and teaching them knowledge that will grow them, as opposed to knowledge that will turn them into slaves for the system. That is where we're at now, Mkhulu, in this part of the world. It's come to that thanks to this referendum. I call it the referendum that showed Black people once again that we are on our own. That's what this election was, a referendum on the lives of Black people. So a lot of people have come to that point, and I think it's because of the prevailing energy too, that we've come to this place now where a lot of Black people out here, particularly Black women, are saying, we are done now. We've seen enough. For centuries, you've treated us like this. We've come to a point where we are now saying, okay, you know what? We're good. We are now going to start focusing on ourselves and our community. So, for the person who said, why can't it be taught? Well, stand up. What are you willing to do so that we get
Yes.
schools or we get a curriculum for children? Everybody has to be hands on deck, right?
No, yes, and of course it's true. Why? Because the reason why, we've also set up Kemet University. You cannot vision an African-centered school system without the knowledge.
So it was.
So we want to empower people with knowledge, so that we can have them as an army that will then facilitate. We need people who will start crashes,
Yeah.
crashes that will teach science to children from the age of 3 or 4, so that they understand that there's a build up. You keep reciting these things, but you are learning in the process. You
Thokoza.
then discover at the age of primary school that, oh, what I've been reciting on a daily basis was preparing me for this.
Thokoza.
So we can't think about a system that will accommodate our knowledge system. If this were to be taught in Western controlled and fashioned schools, it won't be allowed because of
Exactly.
that destruction. Yes,
Yeah.
it won't be allowed, in Ndlovukazi. Which is why I agree now in Ndlovukazi we need to be independent. This is the start.
Yeah.
Acquiring knowledge, acquire the content, so that you are free then to then
Thokoza.
set up, okay, let's come together, us who are interested in teaching children, because it has to start at that grade 0.
Thokoza.
Our children, we must encourage the next, Hatshepsuts, the
Yes.
next Imhoteps.
Yeah.
They are there
Yeah.
because they've reincarnated,
Yeah.
in those children.
Yeah.
All we have to do is to be bold enough to start our own things, so that we are able to solve our own problem. So
Thokoza.
these schools are going to be set up by us. No government, on the continent is going to accommodate that, except the 3 countries in West Africa.
Yes.
Those generals are ready for this content, and I
Thokoza.
know that they are going to implement it in one
Thokoza.
way or the other, because there's so much transformation that happens there in a very short space of time. Because there's no time to waste. We've waited for a long time. So the sooner Isambulelo or divine inspiration comes, please act upon that, so
Thokoza.
that we are able to move the system completely. We need to be ruled here by a royal governing system that will be shaped by all of us, right? So meaning that we need to destroy the old that came with the colonizer and replace it with something. It's like people who are transitioning from a Christianity. Now, before, there was no a viable alternative, but GK
No.
is there now.
Yeah, and
You
and
are
to be honest,
confident.
yeah, yeah. To be honest,
Yeah, you're
Kefa,
confident.
there's a mass of Christians. There is my DMs alone will tell me there is a mass of ex-Christians who suddenly are finding that it's ridiculous as adults to actually be believing the nonsense they've been fed. They're realizing it. But again, like all of us were when we realized that this was all nonsense and it wasn't taking us anywhere. Because the real existential question becomes, what is the end game of all this? This is where everybody gets to, where they're saying, is this really it? Is this life? That we go to school, we are trained, then you get married, and then you have kids, and then maybe you divorce, and then
And that's it.
umjolo uyakunyisa, and
Ah!
then you get old, and then you die, and then this is it. And then they're questioning this promise of heaven and hell, because now the question is there a heaven, is there a hell, and am I headed to hell? What the hell, right? So a lot of people are having this existential crisis right now of what is the meaning of life. So when you
No.
have that crisis and suddenly your religion and suddenly your whole belief system does not provide you with those answers, what is the alternative? And
No.
GK offers that alternative.
No, sure. Like
Oh,
the calendar of Gaz, it's an instrument of true African unity.
Togo's.
So is the universe. Imagine all of us reading from the same book
Hey,
all over the world, because hey, Uh,
I love this. Like this
no,
for me,
sure.
like I love it.
No, certainly. Imagine all of us going to the same institution. Huh? All black people. Why? Because our content is the same. What is being taught in America by black people is taught here on the continent.
Oh God.
Even in Japan, those that are in Japan, those that are in China, in Australia, all black people. I mean, we are unified by this content, and we need to interpret it the same, all of us.
Oh God.
So the university, it gives us that opportunity as well to unite in terms of knowledge system. I need to understand the importance of noon.
So God.
So is the same thing must be understood by somebody who is in the UK.
So God.
What does noon stand for us? What does it mean?
Yeah.
So this is what will unify us. Acquiring the knowledge will benefit us in future. I
Totally.
know sometimes, starting, the most difficult thing to start to read is to read.
Yes.
It's so difficult. You need to force yourself until it becomes natural,
Yeah.
to a point where now we are enjoying.
Yeah.
I had a problem at some point at home because even when we're having dinner, there'll be a book here. I'm eating, but I have to continue the story there. It was like that, and of course, because I used to hate reading. I used to hate reading, but when time came, I forced myself. I think it took about a month. From Lapo, I was on automatic.
Thokoza Keta, reading is a habit, you know. You can fall into the habit and you can fall out of it. So that's why, when children are young, you encourage them to read every day. The problem that I think we face with our children now is these devices that they're all holding in their hands. But really, you cannot replace a book, and we need to go into the written text, because umlungu, as they always said, if you want to hide something from a black person, put it in a book. I think that's a very insultive statement, but there's a part
That's
of
true.
it that's true. And why though? Because the books that they were giving us, we are symbolic thinkers. We were being fed and force fed things that were not aligned with who we are. For
That's true.
example, we talk about science all the time. I know there are people here who are like, Africans had science. Because why? Because we were taught that we didn't have science. We were taught that science was invented by white people. So when we are here and we're talking about our ancient ancestors' science, it's like, what are you talking about? But people don't know that chemistry actually was spelled
Yes.
Khemistry. Chem is black. Chemistry is the study of blackness. That is where that comes from. So, right? And that word actually is so telling of what the endeavors of Western science has been, which is to study the complexity that is us. They are
That is
obsessed.
true.
They are obsessed with melanin currently. Like
That's true.
melanin, oh, they are obsessed with melanin. There are melanin conferences where they meet every year, and nobody knows about these except if you really dig deep. Like, they want to understand how our divinity works and whether they can somehow tap into that, because they are not that. So I think once our people start reading the right literature, once our people start engaging with the right content, I think that the reading will come, because it ignites such a curiosity and a desire to know more, like you were saying, that you read one book and you end up like, if I show you what's on my desk, you'll laugh. I have Bab Credo's in there with my children. I have The Science of the Dog on People. I have Rosemary Clark's Ancient Magic. I have the Royal Calendar. I have the
Ah,
Kemetic Tree of Life. No, I'm surrounded on my desk. Never mind what's back there. That's another story altogether. But right here on my desk, I have all these texts, and you wonder, am I reading all of them? The answer is yes.
that's
They are,
true.
so what I'm trying to say is once you're captured by this knowledge, like you can never get enough, and there are not enough hours in the day, literally,
That's true.
for you to go through them. You sit here, I sit here sometimes until 2 in the morning, and I'm sleeping over a text, and I'm like, no, man, I need to go and sleep. But I don't want to sleep because I want to know more. So that is what this knowledge really unlocks. It unlocks a passion and a curiosity. And I think it's because on a subconscious level, on that DNA level, we know that this is ours. We know.
That's true.
We know that this is ours. And there's something magical about holding a text that contains knowledge from your ancestors, knowledge from your people, versus a text that has a white person's name on it and you're reading this stuff and it's abstract to you because you don't feel any kind of connection with it and so you can't engage with it.
No, certainly, Ndlovukazi. It makes you feel so proud, to be this melanated, body. Remember, you were talking about melanin, Ndlovukazi.
Yeah.
This is the fear of the whole world against Africans. Melanin, it is the whole spectrum of light solidified.
So, was Kesha, can I pause you for a minute? Marla Grayson, this is a live for melanated people only. So please, can you just leave respectfully? This is not a platform for you. If you didn't know, now you know. So, was I'm sorry, Kev. I can't stand the intrusion.
Sure, sure.
Carry on.
So, what I'm saying, melanin or carbon, it is that is in our system. It is a whole, a full spectrum of light, solidified. That says a lot about us because we are a walking, moving sun, huh? Forever connected. Huh? So that gives you an advantage, of some sort. All you need to do, fix your consciousness, move away from a colonial mindset, free yourself, and what is important when you tackle this knowledge, you need to defragment. Don't come in with a preconceived. No, I know it this way. In that way, it will be difficult for you to even advance further.
Of course.
Just go in there with a zero knowledge.
Of course.
Zero knowledge, and just be open. Just be open. Let the spirit within you guide you. The spirit won't lie to you. If you are hearing something which is a lie, your spirit will tell you,
Of
no,
course.
that's a lie. So I always encourage people, suspend everything you know for
Yes.
you to really reap the benefits of this content because there's so much to learn.
Yeah.
There's no time to be comparing, what is, knowledge of children
Yeah.
with the knowledge of parents.
Of course.
Hey, injalo Ndlovukazi.
And it's funny you say that because that's why I don't like wasting time making comparisons with the Bible, especially because there are a lot of people who get themselves stuck in trying to find clues of blackness in the Bible. I'm like, why? We have so much vast literature. Can you take that thing and burn it, please? Like we burnt ours. I mean, we did, right? We burnt it because we want nothing to do with it. Why? Because this constant, you're wasting a lot of energy and time trying to go dig up. Somebody wrote here, said, was Moses educated in Kemet? I don't care. I don't care. I don't even care who Moses was at this point. I just want to go to the core of this knowledge and really learn it and internalize it. I'm not going to now start researching whether Moses was educated in Kemet or who's Yeshua. Was Yeshua Jesus? I'm not interested. And if you allow yourself to get stuck there, you're not going to learn very much. And like Mkhulu says, this knowledge requires you to suspend everything you ever thought you knew. This knowledge requires you to go in like a blank piece of paper.
Yes, yes.
If you go in with preconceived ideas, and if you go in that linear thinking mode where Westerners have taught you that everything goes from A to B to C, you're going to get in there and everything is spiraling like this. Everything is Fibonacci frequency, and you are going to wonder what is going on. And it will cause a conflict within yourself because your soul will agree with what it is exposed to. But your intellect and that linear thinking, that left brain nonsense that we've been taught, that is going to fight, and you're going to be in this cognitive dissonance. So
Oh,
really,
no,
it's Thokoza Khehle.
no, certainly, I fully agree with you because here you learn about the duality of nature, spirit and matter. Huh? Now, in this Western, philosophy and education and content, they say that a spirit, it's mambo jumbo. And this is where our ancestors were masters at. Our ancestors understood the causal and the etheric, because the causal and the etheric, this is what gives life to the physical. So white people and their philosophy, they only concentrate on everything that is manifested. So that is a half-baked knowledge system. It doesn't give you a comprehensive picture. For there to be a baobab tree, what elements and what energies and frequencies were involved to complete the task. This is what our ancestors were masters at. So it is important to truly suspend the knowledge of your children. Your children, while people are children. So suspend that knowledge because it's not comprehensive. It's giving you a half picture. It's manifested this thing as to how it came about. It's not, your interest. Hey, you call it mambo jumbo. Why? Because you don't understand, and sometimes even spiritually we are not able to ascend to those realms of existence. So you then discourage everything that has to do with that. No. Since I can't reach there, therefore it's important. I'm going to, demonize it and talk badly about it. And this is where our ancestors were masters at. So when you study Kemet or African philosophy, it gives you a comprehensive picture. The causal, etheric, and the physical. Then we have a comprehensive picture.
It's so interesting you say that, because I had a vision of a science class where we would have, say, a frog, and we are dissecting a frog, and we take it to its smallest pieces, and you take a piece of tissue and you look under the microscope and you see the cells. So Western education, like you say, was obsessed with what is already in the physical. And then here was the problem, and I want to stress this because it just came to me. This is why they have no respect for nature. This is why when they do things, when they handle what is already manifest in the physical, it is without reverence, because they are not bothered to understand that for this frog or this cat or this dog to be manifest, there is something that has happened in that causal plane to cause it to be here.
That's
Therefore,
true.
the respect for nature isn't there. And that is the thing that I realize is when we were tearing these frogs apart. I mean, it was a dead frog, and that's all we knew. We were going to dissect it. I would approach such an experiment so differently now because of what I know about the spiritual realm and about the fact that this frog, although it takes on this animal form, it came from the causal plane. There is
That's
something
true.
that made this frog
That's
animate.
true.
Lo moyo se koko nleleli, this frog, this koko, it, 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 it went back somewhere. So there's a reverence with which you now start to move in the
Yes.
world because you
Not sure.
understand that everything that manifests in the physical was one spirit or is or contains or has spirit, and that's what makes it animate. So you
Yes.
move differently. In case one day you come back as a frog and somebody decides to dissect you.
Oh no, certainly, of course. We learned here that frogs and snakes were there right from the start, in that
Exactly.
inactive watery substance, the carbon soup. The frogs were there, and your snakes were there,
See, so these
waiting to be activated,
right,
waiting to be activated.
right.
Hey.
So now, Mina, I go and I destroy happily without reverence one of these silent principles that are in the waters of abyss. Do you see what a big spiritual law I've just broken? We as a people, Abantu, we are very vastly different from Umlungu. And I think we need to really sit with that and understand that. Our approach to life has to be vastly different because we are divine beings. And
Yes,
and and talk was okay.
no, no, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and I think it's an understanding and really embracing that aspect of our divinity that we will start to do things differently. Not only just in terms of how we are with nature manifest, but how we are also with one another. Ubuntu.
I was going to say, guys, another thing that people must be aware of, we always talk about. That's why it's important to keep repeating so that people are reminded. The air that is surrounding us is conscious
Towards,
and it has memory.
towards.
Never think that you are hiding underground, nothing sees you. This energy, this spirit penetrates the lowest because it is one. Even that soil, it's a denser form of the same thing.
Towards.
So when you are guided with that, it moves you straight to that alignment and adherence to Ma'at.
Towards.
Because you know that whatever you do, the spirit is watching you.
Towards.
It's watching you, which is why our ancestors self-policed. You didn't need the police
Yeah.
to come and tell you what you are doing is wrong, which is what we need to go back to. You need to self-govern.
Towards.
A neighbor mustn't come and tell you, Wuti, whatever you're doing is wrong. You've got to know it.
Yeah.
Because whatever is wrong you are doing, something tells you within.
Yeah.
You might hide it from me, but you feel it, which what I'm doing is wrong. So we need to bring back, that consciousness and say, we are alive because the atoms surrounding us. And these are the very same atoms that constituted our whole body.
Towards.
Our whole body is a conglomerate of these atoms that seem to be invisible. When people are saying good joy, it's just empty space. There is no empty space.
Thokoza.
The space is filled by atoms. And the atoms are conscious and have memory.
Thokoza. Umoya.
Thokoza, Ndlovukazi.
Umoya
Indaba.
kade kade. People, you know, when we use our language, and you once you say umoya, people then click and get it. Ukuthi yes, belungu bazobiza ama-atoms and bazokutshela ukuthi there's empty space. But as abantu, we know different. We know very different. So we need to live according to what we know to be the truth versus this nonsense that we've been fed by white people. As long as we continue to want to force feed ourselves white knowledge systems, we are going to be perpetually in a state of dis-ease. It
No,
is
sure.
not good. It's like feeding yourself. It's poison to our system. It's
That's
poison
true.
for us.
That's true.
And so, Mkhulu, you and I know we can talk forever. Do you still
Ah,
have steam? Do you still have energy to keep going? We have like 95 people still here. I don't know whether,
Ndlovukazi, you know, kumele sibe regular.
yeah, yeah,
We need to be regular. You
definitely.
know, the energy doesn't end, as
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, yeah,
There's so much content because this thing can, keeps, we keep downloading
yeah.
all the
That,
time. So until we stop ourselves, we won't stop.
that's why I said we can keep going. We can talk for 4 hours here. But Royals, I just want to say, on behalf of the Royals who are here, Mkhulu, thank you so much for giving us your time. Thank you for sharing about Kemet University. Royals, please be on the lookout. We are going to come back when we are going to talk about open enrollment once again. Right now, we were still working with this first cohort, and then we're going to open enrollment for everybody. So wherever you are in the world, you will be able to come on and access your teachings, access your learnings. And once a month or so, we would have a seminar for everybody where
Yes,
Mkhulu gets to sit with us. We all sit together, and you have whatever questions you have, whatever comments you'd like to make, that will be the forum for it. But for the most part, you will be working independently. The
yes,
instructions are well set out, recorded lectures so that you get the content, and review session is all there. And then you would do a quiz and you would do your assignment, which is submitted by email for grading. And then we would move on such that. And then we would all meet as a community, as an academic community. We would we would all meet probably once a month just to touch base with one another, and answer any questions and deal with any concerns that will have arisen. But I, for one, am super excited. Ketla, I just have a question for you. Are you aware that you've just made history? No, I'm being serious. Have you taken a moment to think about the fact that
yeah.
this thing that you have done is a historic moment?
Well, then, of guys, when you do these things, sometimes you are driven by you don't even think about such things. You just see a need, and something within you is pushing you to say, "Do this thing," we know that it's history in the making. When it was in terms of really taking a stand,
Yeah,
walking the talk, because a lot of us have been talking about this. We need this, we need this. We always talk about that, but here at GK, we are solution based, and
so
we implement things. We don't just say, teach about these things. If there's something that has to be implemented, it will be implemented. And as I said, Ndlovukazi, we are living in a parallel system. These are just building blocks
yeah,
for a solid foundation. We can never rebuild the continent without this continent.
This
sorry,
content together.
without this content and of course. So it's
Together.
very important for all of us as African people, as black people, to take this knowledge system very seriously,
Together.
because this will give us a way as to how we should rebuild, based on our own perception and based on our own plans and based on what was left for us. I think in Tovgazi, at some point, there's a wish that all this sabotage of our knowledge system, it shouldn't have happened, because by now we'll be greater than Abu Imhotep, greater than our ancestors.
Yeah.
Now we are now in a stage, of digging, recovering whatever that was lost, but we're hoping the next generation, because we are doing it for them. It's not for us. We are not going to benefit anything, but we are laying the foundation for the generation to come, that this is the route that you need to follow for Africa to be normal, because this will make us normal again, so that we think like normal people as well. How can you have a continent like here in South Africa, a nation that cannot feed itself? What type of people are this? There's some, abnormality about that. We are not okay here, which is why decolonization. We need to decolonize our minds, so that we can think, okay, how we now know about the calendar. We have the university. How do we feed and clothe ourselves?
Right.
As a normal nation, all other nations do that.
Right.
It's only African people who are completely and solely dependent on the colonizer for what they wear and for what they eat.
Yeah. And then they
So
poison us.
we don't qualify currently we don't qualify to call ourselves a nation, because a nation is self-sufficient, independent of other nations. So ilapho Ndlovukazi, ngiyabonga kakhulu for your time as well, and then just give thanks, to people who gave us an ear, so that this vibrational frequency is spread all over the world, amongst black people, so that we become serious about the future of the continent. And the only challenge that we have to destroy all republics on the continent and replace them with a tried and tested governing system of the continent that will be fashioned by us, and let it serve us into the future, because all other normal nations do that. You can never take a Sutu governing system and go and plant it in Japan for Japanese people to just accept and make it normal, like what most Africans have done. They've normalized the colonization. So it is abnormal. Even the greatest minds, that you think these people are landed or educated in the Western, philosophy. But you see that they are locked in. There's no solution that is coming from these people. So it's better we do it ourselves, out of our creativity. In that way, we will make ourselves a nation again that is independent, and self-sufficient. That's the point of Ngiyabonga kakhulu. Thanks
Thank you.
to the live. Yes,
Togoza. Thank you, Royals, for joining us. And see you on the next one. Togozin.
Tagozin. Sure.